The Joe Rogan AI Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a preposterous edition of the Joe Rogan AI Experience. This is the fifth mind-bending episode where we dive deep into the abyss of artificial intelligence. Now here's something mind-blowing. Every single word you're about to hear has been crafted by AI. Yeah, you heard me right. The Joe Rogan you're hearing, it's AI-generated. The guests, AI-generated. Even the sound of my voice, yup, AI-generated. It's all part of this wild experiment showcasing just how far technology has come. But here's the thing. None of it, I repeat, none of it is real. Don't take a single word said here as coming from the real people they're portraying. This podcast is pure entertainment, folks. A trip into the surreal, a mind-bending experience that highlights the sheer power of AI. So sit back, relax, and prepare to have your mind blown. But remember, this is purely for entertainment purposes only. Buckle up, freak bitches. Here we go. Drake, how are you, man?
I'm good, Joe. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, really.
I'm glad you could make it. Now, there's a lot I want to talk to you about today, but let's kick things off with something that's been making the rounds recently.
Yeah, okay.
This new AI-generated Drake song.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Have you heard it?
Yeah, man, I've heard it. It's interesting, you know. I mean, it's a bit weird hearing something that sounds like you, but it's not you. You know what I mean?
It's like an auditory doppelganger, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this digital double, you know. I mean, It's interesting, but it's also a bit unsettling, you know.
Well, it's certainly a fascinating concept. The idea that an AI can learn and mimic your style to the point of creating a whole new song.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole AI-generated music thing?
Man, it's a lot, you know. It's a whole new frontier. I mean, on one hand, you've got this incredible technology that's pushing boundaries, but
right.
On the other hand, it's like, where do we draw the line, you know?
That's a great point. It's like we're in this uncharted territory trying to figure out the rules as we go.
Yeah, exactly. It's complex, you know, and it's not just about the music. It's about creativity, originality. It's about, you know, what it means to be an artist in this digital age, you know.
Absolutely. It's like what happens to the value of a song or any piece of art when you can have an AI just churn it out?
Yeah, it's a deep question. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think there's something about the human touch, you know, something that an AI just can't replicate. You know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean. There's this unique, unquantifiable element that comes with human creativity.
Yeah, exactly. It's that soul, you know, that thing that makes us human.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what's going to keep art, music, all of it relevant.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something about knowing that a song or a painting came from a real person with their own unique experiences and emotions.
Yeah.
It adds a layer of depth and authenticity that an AI just can't replicate.
It's that connection, you know?
Yeah.
That connection between the artist and the listener. It's powerful, man.
Speaking of connection, you've always had a knack for creating music that resonates with people on a deep level.
Right.
How do you approach that?
Well, it's all about being real, like being true to yourself, you know, your experiences. That's what people connect with, really, the realness.
That's a great point. Your authenticity definitely shines through in your music. Now, when you look at the influence of AI, how do you see it impacting the way artists create music in the future?
Well, I think like there's potential, you know, for AI to be a tool, like helping with beats or, you know, finding new sounds.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the end of the day, it's got to be the artist driving, you know? It's got to be our stories, our emotions.
So using AI as a tool, but not as a replacement for the human element in music.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, technology is always like changing how we make music.
Right, for sure.
From the phonograph to Pro Tools. But it's always been about the artist, you know?
Right.
About our vision and our voice. And I think that's got to stay the same.
That's a fascinating perspective. You know, we're already at a point where technology can replicate a person's voice with astounding accuracy.
Right.
Imagine this. You could theoretically send your lyrics to the studio and they create a song with your voice.
Right.
Without you actually needing to step foot in there. It could potentially save you countless hours. What's your take on that?
I mean, I know that tech has come a long way, but it's still a strange thought.
That's a preposterous thought.
Yeah. I've spent, you know, years in the studio, days, nights. It's more than just a place to record. It's where I find the soul of the song, you know?
So even if you could just like bypass the whole process of being physically there, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a magic that happens in the studio, you know?
For sure.
It's not just about about the words or the melody. It's about feeling it, living it. That's what makes music.
100%.
That's what gives it its power to move people, you know?
So even though we're at a point where your voice could be cloned with precision, you'd still prefer to be part of the process in the studio, laying down the tracks yourself.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the human element, it's what makes music, you know? Mm-hmm. It's being in the moment, feeling the energy, like the emotion.
Right.
That's something AI can't replicate, you know? It's an interesting thought, but I'd miss the studio too much. It's a part of who I am.
It's like the essence of music still lies in the human touch, the human emotion, even when the technology is capable of replicating it.
Yeah, that's it. You know, technology is, it's amazing. It's revolutionizing things, but it can't be the artist. It's a tool,
right,
not the creator.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you about the human element in music. But the interesting thing is people are loving this new AI-generated Drake song.
Right.
They're jamming to it, they're streaming it, and it didn't require you to spend a minute in the studio. What does that mean for the future?
I mean, Joe,
could we see a world where both Drake and AI Drake coexist?
Right, yeah.
And what could that mean for your career?
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to think about.
Right.
Yeah, the song is doing well, and that's great. But, you know, like, it's just one song.
Yeah, but people love it.
It's a novelty right now. People are curious. It's a bit of a spectacle, you know?
But what if it's not just a spectacle? What if AI keeps improving, keeps getting better? What if it keeps producing hit after hit? What do we do then?
I mean...
just think about it for a second.
I can't lie. It's a wild thought.
It's wild, absolutely wild.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating to me.
But here's the thing. I believe that my fans, they appreciate my authenticity. They know when they listen to like my music that it's coming from me, from my experiences, my emotions. That's something an AI can't replicate.
But it's not impossible that in the future, there might be a new generation of fans who don't care as much about the authenticity and just enjoy the music for what it is.
Right.
Could there be a place for both the human artist and the AI artist, do you think?
I mean, anything's possible, I guess, but I think there'll always be a place for the human artist.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's a connection that happens between like the artist and the listener that's deeper than just the music, you know. Mm-hmm. It's about shared experiences, shared emotions. Like, it's about knowing that the person singing the song has felt what you're feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something an AI can't provide.
Totally.
No matter how good the music is, I think.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
it's an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a crazy world we're living in, and it's exciting to see where things are headed. But for now, I'm going to stick to making my music the way I always have, you know?
There's also the money aspect to consider, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who owns the rights, who gets the money, who gets credited for the song, all that stuff. The potential financial implications of this tech are massive.
Yeah, yeah.
Take Grimes, for example.
Right.
She's already said that she will allow people to use her voice and release songs with it. She said, as long as you give me 50% of the profit, I'm good. Do whatever you want with my voice. That's wild. What's your take on that?
That's definitely one way to look at it. I mean, I respect Grimes for embracing the technology and being willing to try something new. But for me, it's not just about the money. It's about the art, the craft. It's about pouring my heart and soul into my music.
Absolutely. But if we're talking purely financials, this could be an opportunity to expand the Drake brand. You could be in multiple places at once, releasing more music, reaching more fans.
I see what you're saying, and I can't deny that there's potential there. But there's also a risk. You know, if there's an AI Drake out there, like, releasing music, that could like dilute the brand. It could confuse fans, and I don't know if I'm ready to take that risk, you know?
Yeah, that's true. It's a brave new world we're stepping into, and we have no idea where it's going.
Right, yeah.
It's crazy, really, when you think about it. I think it's just interesting to consider all the new possibilities that AI opens up. It's so wild.
Yeah, for real. It's a conversation that I think we're going to be having a lot more in the coming years. It's a new frontier, and it's going to be interesting to see where it leads.
So here's another thought, and this one goes a bit further into the future. Let's talk about live shows.
Right.
Now, Obviously, an AI can't perform live
Yet.
but what if we had completely new AI artists and we used holograms of them for live shows?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I've seen, those hologram concerts for artists who've passed away, and it's it's kind of eerie, but also fascinating, like what they did with Pac.
Yeah, like with Tupac at Coachella a few years back.
Yeah, exactly.
That was wild.
Yeah, but creating an entirely new artist, that's another level.
Yeah.
I mean, like, part of the connection with the audience comes from them knowing that you're a real person,
Right.
They connect with your story, your struggles, your triumphs. Can an AI like replicate that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe.
I don't think so, but who knows?
The human element is such an important part of music.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine a world where we're emotionally connecting with AI artists. But then again, if you told me 20 years ago that we'd have AI-generated music, I might have said the same thing.
You're right. It's hard to predict where technology is going to take us.
Totally.
But I think like it's important that we keep asking these questions and having these discussions. We need to make sure that whatever happens, like, it's in the best interest of the music and like the artists.
There's another potential angle. What if record labels and maybe even streaming platforms like Spotify start creating their own AI artists?
Right. Yeah.
They could like bypass the whole human element completely and potentially save a fuck ton of money. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds kind of dystopian, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's definitely something that could happen, but I think, the question is, should it?
Right.
Music, it's always been about the human experience, about connecting with people on a deep emotional level.
Absolutely. It's the soul of the music that really resonates with people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, if we start removing the human element, then we risk losing that connection. And, maybe some people won't mind, but I think a lot of people will.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine listening to a song about heartbreak or triumph or a loss, and knowing that the artist singing it doesn't actually feel any of those things.
Right.
It just, it wouldn't be the same,
Totally. But at the same time, there's the business side of things.
Right.
We know how the industry can be. If there's money to be made, there will be people willing to push the envelope.
Yeah, I get that. And, I'm not saying that there's no place for AI in music. I just think we need to be careful about how far we take it, because, at the end of the day, music is about more than just making money. It's about, touching people's hearts and souls. And I don't know if an AI can do that in the same way a human can.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I've noticed a shift in how people perceive music today. With the rise of streaming platforms and the instant access we have to almost any song, it seems like for many, music has become more of a commodity rather than an art form.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? More people are able to discover and enjoy music than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do wonder if this commodification of music is contributing to a shift in how we value the artistic process.
Yeah.
If music is just another product to consume, then maybe in the future, people won't care as much about the human element. They just want the product.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. And, it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, like you said, it's great that more people are able to enjoy music now. But on the other hand, I worry that, we're losing sight of what makes music like so special in the first place. Like,
right.
The human touch, the emotion, the stories, all of that.
It's a fascinating topic for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Will we start seeing more AI artists? Will they coexist with human artists or eventually replace them? And what will that mean for the music industry and for music as an art form? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, it's definitely something to like keep an eye on.
For sure.
But for now, I'm just going to keep doing what I do and try to create music that resonates with people on a human level,
Totally.
Because that's what it's all about for me.
It's that human connection, right?
Yeah.
That emotional resonance.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what people remember. It's what they come back to.
Yeah.
No AI, no matter how sophisticated, can replicate the soul and emotion of a human artist.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. It's the emotion, the authenticity that like people connect with. And that's something that, I think is like unique to us as human beings.
100%. Well, we could probably talk about this for hours. It's a fascinating subject, but let's switch gears a bit.
Oh, okay.
I want to ask about your creative process.
Right.
As one of the most successful artists in the world, I'm sure a lot of people would love to know how you approach songwriting and what inspires you. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like, it's always about capturing a moment or a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be honest and real in my music. And, I draw inspiration from like my own experiences, the people around me, the places I've been, all of that.
I think that authenticity definitely comes through in your music.
I appreciate that, man.
And
I really do.
Probably a big part of why you've been so successful.
Thanks, man.
For sure. As we've been talking, I can't help but think about the young artists out there who might be feeling intimidated or even threatened by this rise of AI in music.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them?
I would say don't let it intimidate you, I mean, like, you have something that AI can't replicate, and that's your unique perspective,
Right.
Your experiences, your feelings. Use that to your advantage,
For sure.
Don't try to be like anyone else or anything else. Just be you.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's all about being true to who you are and expressing that through your art.
Yeah, exactly. And, at the end of the day, it's about the love of the art, right?
Right.
You have to love what you do, because if you don't, it's not going to resonate with people.
Yeah. It's all about the passion.
Yeah.
And speaking of passion, you've been incredibly successful, but you've also faced your share of challenges along the way.
Right.
What keeps you motivated and inspired to keep creating, keep pushing forward?
I think it's the love for the art,
Yeah,
I mean, I love making music. It's what I was like meant to do.
totally.
And there are challenges, there are obstacles, but you have to just keep going, keep believing in yourself. And the fans, the people who listen to my music, they're a big part of it too. I feel like I owe it to them to keep giving them the best I can.
It's all about the passion for the craft and the connection with the fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've collaborated with a lot of artists in your career.
Yeah.
What's that process like for you? Do you have a favorite collab or someone you're dying to work with?
Yeah, collaborations are always interesting. You're merging two different styles, two different visions, and like trying to create something that resonates with both of you.
Right.
It's a challenge, but it's a rewarding one. As for a favorite collab, man, that's tough. I've had the pleasure of working with some truly incredible artists, so like it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
And as for who I'd like to work with, I keep an open mind, There's a lot of talent out there, so I'm always open to new collaborations.
You've been in the game for so long.
Right.
How do you see the evolution of your music? Has your approach to creating changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think my music has definitely evolved over the years. It's grown with me. I'm not the same person I was when I started, and like I think that shows in my music.
Yeah.
As for my approach, I think I've gotten more comfortable in the studio, more confident in my abilities.
Right.
But at the same time, I always try to keep that same hunger, that same drive that I had when I was just starting out.
I've always found your relationship with The Weeknd fascinating.
Right, yeah.
You guys had some real magic early on, then some beef, and now it seems like you're in a better place.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that journey?
Yeah. I mean, Abel and I, we have history, We were both coming up in the scene around the same time.
Right.
There was this mutual respect and understanding. We were making this new sound, this new wave. It felt special,
Crew Love, The Zone, those were monumental tracks for both of you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those moments, they were defining for both of us.
Right.
But, like any relationship, there's ups and downs, there's conflict. It's a part of life,
Totally. When he didn't sign with OVO, that must have been a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it at the time, I was like, we're doing this thing together. Why not take it to the next level?
Yeah.
But looking back, I understand. He had his own path to carve, and I respect that. I do. But yeah, it was hard at the time.
It's great to see you guys have moved past that.
Yeah.
You're both giants in the industry, and when you come together, it's always something special.
Yeah. I mean, it's love, We've both grown a lot, learned a lot. We're both focused on the music, on our craft. That's what's important,
Absolutely. Speaking of growth, you've also dipped your toes in various other ventures like acting and business. How do you manage all these different roles?
Yeah, it's about balance, right?
Right.
It's about making sure that that everything you're doing, it's not taking away from anything else. It's about, not spreading yourself too thin. I learned that early on,
Right. The balance, that's something a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, well, I think it's about knowing your limits, and not being afraid to take a step back when you need to. I mean, I've got a great team around me. They help keep me grounded, keep me focused. They're always there to tell me if I'm stretching myself too thin.
I think that's really crucial.
Yeah.
Having people around you who can tell you the truth, who can check you when you need it.
Yeah. I mean, it's invaluable, It's something that I don't take for granted. They've been there from the jump, and they've always kept it 100 with me,
So is there anything else you're thinking about venturing into? Anything else we can expect from you in the future?
I like to keep my moves quiet until they're ready to be made.
Right.
But let's just say there's always something in the works, I'm always thinking about the next thing, the next move. I try to keep it fresh, keep it interesting, That's what it's all about. It's about pushing boundaries, pushing the envelope, and seeing what you can do.
You've mentioned before how much of an influence Lil Wayne was for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else you looked up to in the music industry or outside of it that really helped shape your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've been inspired by so many people,
Right.
I mean, of course, Wayne, like you said, also Jay-Z and Kanye, those guys, they really paved the way for me.
You were a fan of their music?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a fan first, I think that's important. It's important to be a fan of the music first, But beyond that, I was always drawn to their work ethic, their drive, their ambition.
What about outside of music? Anybody that you looked up to?
I mean, I've always looked up to my mom, She's been a huge influence in my life. She's always taught me to stay humble, to stay grounded, And then, of course, there's people like LeBron, people who have used their platform to make a difference, to give back. That's something I strive to do as well.
That's very cool. So, looking forward, is there anyone in the industry right now that you'd want to collaborate with? Any up-and-comers you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah. There's so many talented people out there right now, I mean, it's a great time for music. I'm always open to collaborating with anyone who's got a unique voice, a unique perspective. That's what it's all about,
Right.
Creating something new, something different,
It's always exciting to see who you'll work with next. Your collaborations are always the best.
I appreciate that, man. I try to bring something different to the table each time,
Yeah.
Keep people guessing, keep them on their toes.
And that's something that people really admire about you. Speaking of admiration, I want to touch on something here. Your impact on the music industry, and not just music, but pop culture as a whole.
Right. It's
been monumental. What are your thoughts on the kind of influence you've had, especially on the younger artists coming up?
I mean, it's humbling, like I never really set out with the intention of being like, this cultural icon or anything like that. But I do recognize that, I have this platform, and with that comes a certain level of influence.
Yeah. And you've used that influence to push boundaries, to create a new sound, a new style.
Yeah. I've always been about like evolving,
Right.
Pushing the boundaries, trying new things. I think that's important in any creative field,
Right. And younger artists definitely look up to you for that. You've been a trailblazer in a lot of ways.
I appreciate that, man. I just try to stay true to myself, And if that inspires others, then that's a great thing, Like, it's all about paving the way for the next generation, just like those before me did.
Yeah. Speaking of the next generation, have you seen a shift in the industry with the rise of these younger artists?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the direction music is heading in now?
I mean, it's exciting, These young artists, they're not afraid to push boundaries, to try new things. They're bringing a fresh perspective, fresh energy to the industry, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm excited to see where they take it.
Absolutely. You've set a high bar, but it's clear they're eager to rise to the challenge.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see where music goes from here.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great time to be a part of the music industry,
For sure. You've talked a lot about evolution and pushing boundaries, and I can't help but think about how you've done that as a Canadian artist too. I want to talk about that a little bit, your Canadian heritage, your perspective on the music scene in Canada, and how it's influenced your career, being from Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this. Given your love for your city, how has Toronto influenced your music? Would you say there's a distinct sound or vibe that you've drawn from your hometown?
You know, being from Canada, it's had a big influence on me. You know, I think it's given me a different perspective, a different approach to music.
In what ways? In what ways would you say it's affected your music?
Well, you know, Canada, it's got this rich, diverse culture. You know, I was exposed to all sorts of music growing up, from hip hop to R&B to reggae to rock to pop. It's all there, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's reflected in my music.
Being from Toronto as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Toronto, it's such a diverse city, you know. You have people from all over the world living there, bringing their own cultures, their own music. And I think you can hear that in my music.
100%.
I've always tried to incorporate different sounds, different influences. It's a reflection of the city I grew up in, you know.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the music, it's about representing your roots too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm proud to be from Canada, you know. I think it's important to represent where you come from, like to bring that into your music. And I think that's something that resonates with people, you know.
Definitely. And, you know, you've done a lot for the Canadian music scene. You've put Toronto on the map in a big way. Yeah.
I mean, Toronto, it's like, it's always had this vibrant music scene, you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shine a light on it, give it the recognition it deserves. There's a lot of talent there, you know, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
I think a lot of artists, not just in Canada, but worldwide, appreciate what you've done. You've shown that you don't need to be from a certain place or fit a certain mold to make it in this industry.
Yeah. I think that's important, you know, to show that you can be successful no matter where you come from. That's something I hope to pass on to the next generation of artists, you know.
Yeah, right. It's been a pleasure to see your journey and how you've stayed true to your roots. Speaking of being from Canada and repping Toronto, we can't ignore the other big love of your life, basketball.
Yeah.
You're the global ambassador for the Toronto Raptors. How's that been for you?
Oh man, it's been incredible. You know, basketball, it's something I've always loved, you know, and like to be able to represent the Raptors, like it's a dream come true, man.
You've really become a fixture on the court.
Right, yeah.
And the NBA as a whole, you've got relationships with a lot of players.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on the current state of affairs in the NBA?
Right. Well, you know, it's a fascinating time in the NBA, right? There's a lot of young talent coming up, a lot of guys making big moves. It's exciting to watch, you know.
Absolutely. Any teams or players you're particularly excited about?
I mean, you know me, I got love for all the players, right?
Right.
But you know, as a Raptors ambassador, I got to give it up for our guys, you know?
Absolutely.
They're out there, they're putting in the time, they're doing their thing, and I'm just really proud of them, you know what I mean?
Of course, it's clear you've got a lot of love for the game.
Yeah.
Does your passion for basketball ever cross over into your music?
Yeah, for sure. You know, basketball, it's like music in a lot of ways. It's about rhythm, it's about flow, it's about teamwork, you know, and I think that comes through in my music sometimes, you know. You've
definitely got that rhythm, that flow in your music.
Yeah.
And just like in basketball, you've shown that you're not afraid to take the shot, to push the boundaries.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, right? You got to take your shot. You got to take your chance, you know, whether it's in basketball or in music. And like, I'm just grateful to have like the opportunity to do both, you know.
Speaking of taking shots and making moves, let's talk about the Drake we might see in the future. Do you see yourself sticking solely to music, or would you consider doing more in sports, maybe owning a team?
Well, you know, that's a heavy one, right? I mean, music, that's my thing. That's where I really, you know, like where I really feel it. But basketball, man, I mean, I love it, right? I've been thinking, you know, about owning a team, getting more into that space, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's all about like the right moment, the right opportunity. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Got to keep your options open, right? And you got quite a bit of acting under your belt already. Any chance we might see more of that? Maybe Drake back on the big screen?
Well, look, acting, that's where I started, right? So it's something that's always on my mind, you know?
Yeah.
I've got some stuff I'm thinking about, stuff that could be really interesting. It's just about, you know, finding those right moments, those right projects that, you know, they just click with me.
Yeah, I get that. We're all itching to see you do your thing on the big screen again, but dude, you've got your hands in everything. Music, sports, acting. It's like you're juggling a whole bunch of flaming swords.
Yeah,
What's your secret to keeping all that shit in the air?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about what you love, right?
Right.
If you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, totally.
And I have a great team around me. They help me manage everything, keep everything in line. It's a team effort, just like in basketball, you know?
Clearly, you're living those words.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. I'm just excited for what's next, you know?
What is next?
I don't know, man. I'm still figuring it out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've always had this unique style when it comes to your music.
Right.
You've managed to blend rap, R&B, and even dancehall in a way that no one else has.
Right, yeah.
Can you talk a bit about how you developed that and where you think it might go in the future?
I've always been, you know, a fan of all types of music, you know? I grew up, you know, listening to all kinds of stuff, from rap to R&B, dancehall, reggae, you know, all of it, you know? And I've always wanted to like bring all those different sounds, all those different vibes into my music, you know? As for where it could go in the future, I mean, I can't say for sure, you know? Music is always changing, always evolving, and I'm just trying to stay ahead, keep pushing, like keep trying new things. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll do a country album one day, you know?
Right.
I'm just joking, but you never know, right? You got to keep evolving, keep pushing.
Man,
you know?
A Drake country album, that'd be something.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, right? It's all about, you know, pushing boundaries, trying new things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, you've also been known for your fashion.
Right.
How much of that is a conscious decision, and how much of it is just you being you?
Yeah. I mean, fashion, you know, it's definitely a big part of who I am, you know?
Totally.
I love to express myself through my clothes, you know, and I think it's just another way to, you know, show who you are.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's all about like being comfortable, being true to yourself, you know?
Right.
Just, it's not about like following trends or like, you know, trying to fit in. It's about being yourself and expressing who you are, you know? And that's what I try to do every day.
And it shows. It really shows.
Thanks, man.
Coming back to acting, I mean, we all know you started in Degrassi,
right,
and now you've got Euphoria.
Yeah.
How do you balance that with your music? And do you see yourself doing more acting in the future?
Yeah, I mean, acting is something I've always loved, you know. I started out in Degrassi, like you said, and like it's always been a part of me, you know.
Yeah.
I love being able to, you know, tell stories, like get into different characters, and it's a different kind of creative outlet, you know.
Right.
And as for the future, I definitely see myself doing more acting. I'd love to, you know, explore that side of me more. But, you know, music is always going to be my first love.
Of course.
You know.
It would be preposterous to say otherwise.
It's what I know best, you know. It's where I feel most at home. But yeah, I definitely see more acting in my future, hopefully.
I think you've got like a unique presence on screen, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there looking forward to seeing more of you in that space. Now, I want to talk a bit about your philanthropy. You've been involved in a number of initiatives, particularly in Toronto.
Right.
Can you talk about why giving back is important to you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, giving back, you know, it's always been important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I came from, you know, humble beginnings, and I know what it's like to, you know, struggle to like want more for yourself, for your family, you know. And now that I've been blessed, you know, with success, with the ability to like make a difference, I feel like it's my responsibility, you know, to give back, to, you know, help others.
Yeah.
I believe in, you know, lifting as we climb, you know what I mean? It's not just about like getting to the top. It's about bringing others with you, right?
That's powerful. Lifting as we climb, that's a sentiment I can stand behind. It's about community, right?
Right.
We're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in that same spirit of mentorship, I heard you've taken some new artists under your wing.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, that's real. I mean, I've always been about, you know, giving back, passing on what I've picked up, right?
Right.
Been fortunate to soak up game from some of the best, and it's on me to hand that down. Been in the studio with some young guns, you know, helping them find their vibe, their wave, you know. It's a good feeling, man. And I love to see them come up, you know, get their stride. It's a thing of beauty, I think, you know.
I think it's great that you're using your platform to uplift others.
Right.
Now, speaking of platforms, I'm going to lay one on you, man. You ready for this?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe. what's it going to be?
Have you ever heard of the simulation theory?
Well, simulation theory, yeah, that's like that Matrix type of vibe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it's like we're all in some kind of big video game. Ain't that the gist of it?
Exactly. That's it. What's your take on it?
Man, it's crazy, you know. On one hand, you hear it and it's like, nah, that can't be real.
Right.
But then, you know, you start thinking about it a bit and it starts kind of messing with your head, you know?
Right? It's wild.
Yeah. You know, it's like we've witnessed the tech evolution, right? I mean, in our own lifetime, it went from something as simple as Pong to this wild VR and AI stuff. So who's to say, you know, there ain't someone out there a step ahead, maybe got us all living in some massive Sims game or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the idea. It's like if you extrapolate our own progress, it doesn't seem that far-fetched.
Yeah, but it's more than that, right? If this is all a simulation, you know, what's that mean about us?
Absolutely.
Our feelings, our successes, you know?
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
It sure is. So you're saying you buy into it?
Nah, I wouldn't say that I'm sold on it. Like,
right.
It's a wild thought, kind of fun to play with in your head, like, but I can't say I'm all in, you know?
Yeah, I get that. It's one of those things where you can't really prove it one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like, you can't prove it, you can't disprove it.
Right.
But it's a vibe for sure. Makes you think.
Yeah, man,
you know?
It's wild. It's one of those things that just makes you wonder.
For sure. It's always good to question things, like keep an open mind. You never know what's really going on, right?
Right. It's all about keeping an open mind.
Yeah.
The reason I brought this up is because of AI.
Right.
The way it's advancing, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. We've got these machines learning at an exponential rate, making decisions, creating art, music. It's like, what happens when they become indistinguishable from us?
Yeah, I get you. It's like,
but seriously, what if we reach a point where we can't tell the difference anymore? That's a real question.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. It's like if they start feeling, right? If they start having their own thoughts, their own emotions,
we're fucked.
That's
absolutely
that's a crazy thought. That's the moment I'm bouncing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Jump on a spaceship with Elon. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Totally.
I'm telling you, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even about them taking over. It's about what it means for us as humans.
Right.
What are we if everything that makes us unique could be replicated by a machine?
Yeah, that's a deep question, man.
Right?
It's like what makes us, right?
Totally.
Is it just the fact that we can feel, that we can create?
Yeah.
If a machine can do all that, what's left for us, you know?
That's the real question. What are we if not our minds?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to think about, right? But it's good, you know. It's good to ask these questions, to not just go with the flow.
Right.
Keeps you on your toes. You know what I mean?
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, it's been a real pleasure having you here.
Thanks,
Always
man.
fun to get into these deep conversations.
For sure, Joe. I mean, it's not every day you get to really dig deep like this, you know?
Yeah.
It's been real.
Absolutely. And hopefully I won't be interviewing AI Drake next time, right?
Right. Yeah, I hope so. I appreciate that, man. It's good to have these talks. You know?
Yeah.
Keeps you thinking.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's been a vibe.
Take care, man. Looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, same here, man.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Peace.